Everyone's always clamoring for more spectacular Spider-Man or Green Lantern the animated series. At least those superhero shows got a season or two. The contenders on this list were lucky to get one episode. Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, these are the top 10 best comic book cartoons never made, whether they be lost or unfinished. It's Juice and Jam time. In a time between the 80s and 2003 Ninja Turtles cartoon, Mirage Comics was still trying to figure out how to bring back TMNT for a new millennium. There were two pitch ideas for a new series. One was going to be CGI, which simply by looking at it, we can be thankful this was never made. The animation was found on the official Turtles site in 2001 and done by Rainbow Studios, a video game developer known for MX vs. ATV Unleashed.
So return to the power. The passion.
If you should ever fall, Master, I will lead them.
The pizza.
It was pitched around to various studios hoping to either be a TV series or a theatrical movie, with Hong Kong action director John Woo considered to direct. This project went nowhere, but John Woo directing a Ninja Turtles movie would be knucking futz. The second Turtles pitch was in 2D and made for WB. No finished footage here, just animatics to get the idea across. This more closely resembles the comic books, and we see Raph acting a little more like Mikey, fending off some goons.
Hold this. I didn't get enough for everybody. As my master says, nothing worthwhile is ever easy.
I contacted the editor of this footage, Carl Londy, who tells me he doesn't know much as he was merely hired late in production. All he knew was the comic book artist William directed it. Carl also informed me of another cartoon he worked on that was never released, but I'll save that for another video. Of course, these two pitches were rejected and we ended up with the 2003 TMNT from 4Kids Entertainment. Surprisingly, a good trade-off. Follow me on this. The Joker meets the Powerpuff Girls. You heard me. The Powerpuff Girls creator Craig McCracken admitted on his Tumblr blog this was an episode planned for the original series. The Joker, drawn in the Batman animated series style and voiced by Mark Hamill, was going to visit Townsville. The mayor of Townsville becomes so starstruck a big-time villain like the Joker is doing crime in his town that he does whatever he can to stop the girls from chasing after the Joker. It sounds like it could have been a fun episode, but Warner Brothers, who owns DC Comics, said no to the idea.
You'll understand if I refuse. The last time we met, you tried to throw me off a building.
I did? Well, that was so long ago.
It was last month.
Well, WB at least approved of that one Powerpuff Girls Super Friends crossover commercial that used to run all the time.
You girls are developing into quite the superheroes.
Someday we'll be as developed as you!
I think now that the Powerpuff Girls are more established in pop culture, WB would approve today. Remember how the 2016 reboot Powerpuff Girls crossed over with Teen Titans Go? It's never too late to dust off that old Joker and Powerpuff idea, but I guess we'd have to modernize it. How about we get an episode where the 2016 Powerpuff Girls visits the Jared Leto Joker? It's a horrible idea, so it's perfect.
Oh my god. Shut up!
Oh boy, time to suffer. We're talking about Image Comics and the 90s with the lost YoungBlood TV pilot. All there is online for this generic hero team are animation tests in addition to saucy footage included for reasons unknown. The animation looks nice enough, but according to comic book resources online, this mid-90s show aimed to air on Fox Kids. Bad timing, as Fox, during this era, updated their contracts with Marvel, stating Fox must only produce comic cartoons from Marvel and only Marvel. If you make a timeline of all the shows, there was a 3-year span without a premiere from a non-Marvel comic book cartoon. That is, if you ignore the ones they already had the license to, like TMNT Next Mutation and the new Batman and Robin Adventures. Other comic cartoons like Savage Dragon Dragon, Ultra Force, or Wildcats, which are owned by Image or Malibu, premiered on the USA Network at the time, so this contract ordeal does hold some water. It took until the year '98 for other comic cartoons to show up on Fox, such as Sam and Max or Big Guy and Rusty. I once met an elderly red-haired bear at a San Francisco nightclub called the Big Gay Rusty. Not only does this spot in the video belong to YoungBlood, but in addition, any other non-Marvel comic cartoons that got rejected for this contract issue. Who knows what we missed out on? Well, this one I'm not too sure of. I've heard this rumor here and there, but whenever I Google it, I just find info about the comic and not the show itself. So let's refer to this contender as a conspiracy.
Obliterate them!
In 2005, an episode aired of Justice League Unlimited titled Far From Home. Here, Supergirl gets transported to the year 2979, where she meets the Legion of Superheroes. The Legion are also pre-existing characters from DC Comics, of course.
We're part of a group called the Legion of Superheroes.
A galaxy-spanning force, not unlike your Justice League.
A team of criminals called the Fatal Five attacked our new headquarters, captured all our teammates.
By the end of the episode, Supergirl chooses to stay in the future, and we never see from her again. The following year, in real life, not the cartoon, Kids WB premiered a TV series based on the Legion of Superheroes in 2006. Except here, a young Superman was sent into the future to stay with them.
Even if you are from the future, and I'm not saying that you are, why me?
We belong to the Legion of Superheroes. We want you to join us.
Clark Kent, a superhero. Right.
The rumors I've heard is that this cartoon was meant to follow Supergirl from the Justice League show, but because the movie Superman Returns came out that year, WB wanted to give Superman a new cartoon of his own. So instead of Supergirl, we get this young, deflated man of Flaccid leading the way. I've also heard this was first going to follow Superboy instead, but no one outside comic book readers knew who that was, so Superman it is! Again, I can't find any info on it, but it does sound believable, so I don't care, I'm putting it in.
I hate you.
Predating the 90s cartoon, 1989's Pride of the X-Men was a failed pilot focusing on Kitty Pryde as a newcomer of the Xavier Institute. This X-Men incarnation is less refined than what we come to see years later. It's much goofier and akin to G.I. Joe or Gem and the Holograms. The Canadian mutant, Wolverine, is left as the biggest victim of the hammy voice acting, which portrays him as Australian.
Welcome her. Wait, she's not joining the X-Men, is she? She's just a kid.
Wolverine, can't you see the girl is scared? Don't you remember what it was like when you first discovered you were a mutant?
You could say this is the second best Australian Wolverine ever next to Hugh Jackman. Yeah, it's real cheesy, but they still tried with the themes about discrimination along with some impressive animation and designs. Though, judging by Nightcrawler's head color and costume color, it's inferred Nightcrawler is really wearing a red Borat thong.
No! No! Get away from me!
You have to give it to Marvel. Years prior, they were producing a RoboCop cartoon. Instead of making a 13th and final episode to RoboCop, they used the budget to make Pride of the X-Men. While the series was never made and deemed inferior to the 90s X-Men, it was used as the basis for a toy line and the X-Men arcade game, so it does have some cultural significance.
But whatever the challenge, whatever the peril, the X-Men will be there.
Nickelodeon Superhero Sunday will continue after these messages.
What's up, y'all? It's AJ from the Backstreet Boys, and you're watching the terrifying Tower Takeover on Kids WB.
There are two histories, one that is told and one that isn't. These are the adventures of the amazing Screw-On Head.
When 1860s Civil War America is in trouble, there's only one man Abe Lincoln trusts, the amazing Screw-On Head from Dark Horse Comics. With voice acting by that douchebag who stole Frankie Muniz' movie idea, this robot agent of the US government can screw his own head onto various apparatuses.
I'll have you know, I work for the President of the United States of America.
The failed single-episode pilot footage you're watching portrays the Screw-On Head hunting after Emperor Zombie, a villain who seems so composed, yet he is a bumbling idiot that steals the show and is voiced by David Hyde Pierce.
I want to know what this says.
The Scroll of Gun? It's untranslatable.
Why steal a book you can't read? That's silly.
I was attempting to translate it.
Ooh. How far'd you get?
Stylish and with some dark humor, you'll recognize this aesthetic from Hellboy creator Mike Mignola. I was able to ask him about this failed TV pilot in San Diego Comic-Con one year. Mike claimed he had zero involvement with this cartoon and he simply sold it to the Sci-Fi Channel, not thinking they'd actually go through with anything.
This is the best day ever. It marks the end of Amazing Screw-On Head and brings closure to my petty vengeance fetish with his manservants.
The supposed reason this series was never greenlit for more episodes was because the Sci-Fi Channel had a vote online for viewers to decide if this should be a show or not, but honestly, given that this is the Sci-Fi Channel, I don't think they had the funds to be supporting a weekly cartoon with this kind of animation and voice acting. Animation is a group project, so the fact a studio was able to come together and recreate this signature style of shading and bring it to life is a feat unto itself. The Hellboy animated films didn't even try to do that style, I don't blame them. One episode of the Screw-On Head must have been hard enough for a studio, and the Sci-Fi Channel too apparently. I tell you, there's always the comic out there if you want to see more, but that comic was only a one-shot issue. Well, I guess you could say the Amazing Screw-On Head got ruined.
Oh, good buddy. It's me, DeadPool. I shot you.
Ignoring a few appearances here and there, how has someone cray-cray like DeadPool, aka the Merc with the Mouth, aka funnier in middle school, not gotten his own cartoon by now? As I record this video, FXX is in development of a cartoon series. I'm sure with Donald Glover and Stephen Glover working as writer and producers, it'll be funny, but I'm worried about the animation studio chosen, Radical Axis. The studio behind Archer and Aqua Teen will be animating. Those shows are funny, but they're not exactly the most appealing to the eyes. There's no visual yet on what the FXX Deadpool will look like, but I hope it's not in that stiff Archer style. So, what if I told you there exists test footage of Deadpool animated by Titmouse in the visual flair of Black Dynamite?
He's a mean soul brother and he's super bad. So grab on to your seats and hang on tight while I tell you a story about Black Dynamite.
This unseen footage was shown at a panel in Anime Expo 2017. It recycled audio from the movie and featured Deadpool killing about 30 guys in a harbor, followed by the harbor itself exploding. 20th Century Fox requested 3 animation studios to make a 2 to 3 minute sample of what they can animate with Deadpool. The studios were Titmouse, Radical Axis, and my source does not remember who the third studio was. At the time of making the Deadpool test animation, Fox already chose Radical Axis to make a TV series. This test was merely to see what these animation studios can do for possible future projects.
Dad?
Due to legal reasons, 20th Century Fox does not want the animation released online, which is odd. The main reason the highly successful Deadpool movie was made was because one of 4 possible crew members leaked test footage of that film. The Deadpool movie was originally never going to be made until fan outcry after watching the footage persuaded Fox.
Hola! Me llamo Vecina de la Muerta.
I bet the only reason Fox does not want you to see it is because they're worried viewers will question why doesn't the real show look this awesome. So, if you want to see 2 to 3 minutes of Deadpool animated like Black Dynamite, tell Fox. Also, tell them to make another Simpsons hit and run game. I need that.
What more can I say? The man is black. Dynamite! Dynamite!
Speedrun. Here's several canceled DC cartoons with not that much info, but interesting regardless, such as earlier versions of the Justice League cartoon that followed lesser heroes, which I wouldn't mind following that lesser hero around unless she tells me not to, and I'd be like, I'm sorry, I respect your personal space and I will not bother you anymore. Gotham High featuring Batman and his rogues gallery in high school. Sounds like a dumb idea, but it worked for X-Men Evolution, and there already was a high school Batman cartoon. It's called Batman Beyond. A Nightwing TV series from Ki-hyun Ryu, an artist on the Boondocks and the Legend of Korra. It was rejected in favor of Young Justice. Batgirl Year One, a 2008 straight-to-video film that was canned because DC only wanted Superman and Batman leading projects only. Those sell a lot better due to their brand recognition. Related, sequels for the direct-to-video Wonder Woman and Green Lantern films were also scrapped because of this. A Superman animated short by Samurai Jack creator Genndy Tartakovsky. It was to air on the DC Nation action block, but the short and the block itself was quickly cancelled before progress was made. So not much was known about it outside this concept art by Scott Willis, a background painter on Jack. Lobo, the animated series. WB considered making this after his appearance on the 90s Superman cartoon. I know nothing about the main man outside his animated roles, but a space biker sounds like a lot of fun. It was going to be made until DC realized he was just too violent and vulgar for a kid's show. Instead, Lobo got a web cartoon in the year 2000, so obviously it looks like crap and was crude for the sake of being crude.
Thanks, Clyde. I think you cleaned away most of my plaque.
You gotta remember, Happy Tree Friends was uploaded 1 year prior, so maybe they wanted to capture that teen girl Newgrounds demographic.
Siri, what is my name?
You're Pan, but since we're friends, I get to call you teen girl who just got off watching For Me the Squirrel on Newgrounds.com while signing a Bring Back and Beaters and petition wearing a Jack Skellington hoodie and Happy Tree Friend tube socks purchased from Hot Topic during an Emily the Strange Buy One Ghetto.
Damn straight, Siri.
And lastly, Batman No Man's Land. It was described with the phrase dark as hell by DC cartoon producer James Tucker. This was Batman in a post-apocalyptic Gotham. It was first planned to be 2D, then planned again to be CGI. Because of how dark this concept was, DC instead went for the campier Batman Brave and the Bold cartoon. I assume now with DC getting more comfortable with R-rated Batman straight-to-video films, they'll give this one another shot one day. If you're bummed out none of these got made, don't worry. It's comic books. They reboot and adapt this stuff all the time. You just gotta wait for it.
And meaningless media will distract us from the truth. We won't just need a hero.
We'll need a rat bastard.
Get the kids out of the pool, cause this here is Crucial Comics Rat Bastard. My mom's awake, so I can't swear right now. Doesn't this sound familiar? A bitter, deadbeat, humanized animal detective in a cyberpunk future. So, essentially, Duckman Beyond.
My name is Roscoe J. Rat, and this is my city, Lowtown.
We definitely need more adult animation in this grungy comic book style of shading. The graphics are on point, and with the script penned by RoboCop creator and screenwriter of the Starship Trooper movies, Ed Neumeyer, this had so much potential. Neumeyer is the perfect writer for any dystopian sci-fi, as long as it's not a sequel. Now, check out Rat Bastard's use of music by White Zombie and the editing around it. It's easy to tell this shared the same director as Pearl Jam's Do the Evolution music video, Kevin Altieri. How could such quality go by the wayside? Speculation here, Rat Bastard was a 5-minute pilot for the channel UPN in the year 2000. Given the time frame, this was post-South Park premiere era, where channels experimented making adult animation only for most of them to cancel too soon. Examples being Mission Hill and The Oblong, so maybe UPN just didn't want to risk it. Especially with such a violent and vulgar show, having the title of Bastard on American TV means you wouldn't be able to air or advertise it during those hours when kids would be awake. So it was just too much of a gamble at a time when successful adult animation was lightning in a bottle. At least that's my speculation.
Marty, drop whatever you're doing. I gotta tell you about a comic book called Scud the Disposable Assassin.
But Doc, I'm right in the middle of standing all alone by myself in this darkened room. I'm having a whole lot of fun.
Marty, I know that's important, but it can wait.
Everyone sit down. Now is the perfect time to explain to you all the comic book Scud, the Disposable Assassin. Let's say you want someone dead. All you gotta do in this comic is go up to a vending machine, put in a quarter, and you got yourself a Scud robot. This Scud robot will go out and kill a target. Once this target, and only this target, is killed, the Scud robot will also self-terminate. Except this Scud robot doesn't want to die, so he doesn't kill the target, instead shoots it enough to be put on life support. So, to pay for the medical bills keeping the target alive, the Scud robot takes up other assassin jobs for money. As long as he doesn't kill the first target, Scud stays alive. You following me? Because that's just the first 2 issues. Scud, the Disposable Assassin, is freaking crazy and perfect for a cartoon.
The Disposable Assassin's out tonight. They're gonna kill everything with you. Dead, nothing will be left to choose. As a fire now, people out will find.
Imagine Earthworm Jim meets Crank meets Dead Leaves. To me and a few others, he is the polar opposite of Deadpool. These are 2 dual-wielding, pop culture spewing mercenaries, except Deadpool is insane and the world around him is normal. While the world of Scud is insane, but Scud himself is laid back and just trying to make a living killing bad guys.
So, who's the job?
Now, the whole doing a task and being terminated upon completion sounds a lot like...
I'm Mr. Meeseeks! Look at me!
That's because Rick and Morty producer Dan Harmon also wrote a few issues, while Scud is Rob Schraub's creation, a director on Community and the Sarah Silverman program. You'll often see Scud referenced here and there from their other works. It's a great comic, but onto the contender for this list. MTV had plans to make a CG animated TV series, but nothing came from it other than test animations found on a Scud highlight reel on Rob Schraub's YouTube channel. During a Fourth Magazine interview, Rob casually mentioned he worked on an MTV pilot of Scud, so it's possible there was more created but we never saw. Now, why would MTV not want this awesome cartoon? Well, that answers itself. But I'm thinking at the time MTV also had a Spider-Man cartoon in a similar style that only lasted 13 episodes. If a big name like Spider-Man was a failure, why would MTV think an obscure comic book character like Scud could do better?
Nobody knows where she came from. She just popped up in the basement of a mannequin factory. She kills everything that moves.
This was 2003, so that cool era of music and experimental animation MTV was known for was ending. Scud also had plans for a live-action movie in the 90s directed by Oliver Stone of all people, but that too was cancelled. What a shame. Scud is the perfect comic to make a cartoon out of. Adult Swim or Trigger Studios needs to get on this. I say for now, go read the comic. I don't like to read, but I read this, so that tells you something. It's fast-paced, funny, and all 24 issues are digitally on Comixology for cheap. The only setback is the comics in black and white. It was just the first physical issue that was in color. I really hope one day they fully colorize Scud, the Disposable Assassin.
Now look, Marty. Look what I found outside our house, Marty.
Oh no! It's real!
Scud is real, Marty. It's real.
No! It's not just a comic book. Oh god, it's real!
Get ready! The whole world's gonna die, Marty. Because Scud
Don't
is
you
real.
want a rematch?
It's real.
I can't believe it's real!
Scud is real, Marty.
It's real! It's real!
Okay, who are you?
The milkman?
Do you have a sidekick?
No.
A nemesis?
A what?
A bad guy?
I'm a people person.
Have you been fighting crime long?
I don't fight crime.
What do you fight?
Wheat bones. A never-ending supply of milk. And chocolate milk.
Want strong bones? The calcium in milk helps make your bones strong.
Like, wow, there's so much new stuff. My eyes are popping out of